All right, so continuing on from our previous problems where we were looking at domain and range of a graph, I want to show you a couple different types of graphs. One being an oval, one being a parabola shape, and again, we're just trying to find domain and range. And so, to me, it helps if we can think about what x values are being used. So remember, the graph in this oval shape, by the way, this point and this point are not part of the graph. Okay, so just be aware of that. We're talking about just the oval shape that's in red that you can see there. We're wanting to think about that being made up of millions and millions of order pairs. Some of those have decimals or fractions. Some of those are pretty easy numbers to see, but we're still thinking about that's just a continuous group of order pairs. And so when we think about domain and range, we want to think about what are all the x values that are being used? What are all the y values that are being used? And so sort of think about what we did on the previous video. If we were to start, let's say, at -6, our question is there an order pair on that graph with an x value of -6? Well, if you go to where x is -6 at this point, and then you were to go up and you were to go down, you're not going to find a point on that graph. And so there is no x value of -6. But if we go to -5, this point is obviously on the graph, right? It's touching the graph. That order pair is -5, 0. Well, can I go to -4? Sure, if I go to -4 and I were to go down to here, I find a point that is an order pair of -4, comma, something. And I don't know what the number is, and I don't really care. If I go to -3, I can go up, same deal. When I get to this point, that's -3, comma, something. Or I could go down too, but you'll see I'm trying to give us some space here. So go to -2, do the same thing. Well, sure, if I go down, there's a point. It's -2, comma, something. I can do the same thing at -1 and 0 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and then 5 again. Again, this is 5, 0. But when I get to 6, here, if I go up or I go down, I'm not going to find a point that is on that graph that is 6, comma, something. And so all the x values being used is everything from this -5, this point, all the way to +5. So essentially it's where are the extremes? How far left, how far right does it go? Well, it goes left to -5 and it goes right to +5. The problem is I can't just list -5, -4, -3, -2, -1, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, because every point in between, so every point between, let's say, here where x value is -2 and where it's -5, let me change colors so you can see this, every point between here and here along this graph, those points also have order pairs. So there's an order pair of -4.1, comma, something, or -4.25, comma, something, and so on. And so because you have all those decimal values, we're going to use interval notation because, again, we can't list them all. And so we're going to say that our domain is everything from -5 to +5. And so in our interval notation, it looks like that. Now we use a bracket on both of those because -5 and +5 both are included. Okay. Now, if we think about the range value, we're doing the same thing, but this time we're going from the bottom to the top. So if I were to start at -4, is there a y value of -4? Well, again, if I go right or I go left, I have no point on that graph with a y value of -4. But if I go to -3, well, that point obviously we can see is 0, -3. If I go to -2, well, yeah, I can go to the right. There's a point. It's something, comma, -2. -1, same deal. If I were to go left, for example, this point is something, comma, -1. 0. Sure, if I go right, that's that point, right? 5, 0. If I go to 1, same deal. Go left, there's a point, something, comma, 1. If I go to +2, I can do it. +3, we get that one. Oh, not 0, 3. But if I go to 4, if I go right or left, I don't have a point on that line or on that graph that is something, comma, -4. And so that point is not going to work. So again, we think about, well, what are the range values? What are the y values possible? It's everything from -3 all the way up to +3 and all of this stuff in between. So it's really all of these things, all those points have y values somewhere between -3 and +3. And so for the range, that's what we're going to say. It's -3 to +3. Again, that is a bracket there. Now, if we look at the next one, again, it's the same idea. As this parabola shape goes down, it is going left, and it's also going right forever in both directions. Now, it's slowly going those directions, but it is going left and right. And so, as we think about our domain value, what are the x values being used? Well, because it goes forever left and forever right, it has to be all real numbers. But then what about the range value? So it goes down forever, right? We know this is going down all the way to -infinity. But how high does it go up? Well, it only goes up to this point, which is a y value of +4. And so the range then is everything from -infinity up to 4. 4 is included, so we put a bracket there. And so there's our domain and range. So as we look at the graphs, looking at how far right, how far left it goes is going to be very, very helpful for you. Think about that. If there's a maximum or a minimum, if it doesn't go forever in one of those directions, then you do have a cutoff point that you've got to consider. In the oval and in the parabola both, you do see where there is a maximum or a minimum for either domain or range.